USC great and NFL stud, Frosty Rucker.
The Trojans back in front.
And LAFB founder Ryan Dyrud on the Believe Podcast Network and LAFBnetwork.com. This is your destination for Los Angeles football.
Los Angeles. What's going on? What's happening? Happy belated Thanksgiving. Hope you had a fantastic holiday, whether you were alone with loved ones at home, bunkered down, or you did travel and get out, or at least across the cities and met up with family and friends. I hope it was a great one. Welcome into the Believe in LA Football podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud. Frosty Rucker not joining me today. It's been a crazy week. It's a holiday week for us, just like everyone else. So traveling and family stuff, which is always more important. So we weren't even going to record today, but I wanted to get something up quick. I had a little break in the action. We always do our Christmas stuff the day after Thanksgiving. So we just finished putting our tree up. I'm looking at it right now. Beautiful. But I had a little break. So I was like, you know what? Let me get a little preview episode up because we do have some big-time games this weekend. So wanted to at least do that. So this is the LA Football Podcast on the Believe Podcast Network, also on LAFBnetwork.com, your destination for Los Angeles football teams. Great content, guys. Check it out. Your Chargers, Rams, Bruins, and Trojans. Everything you need to know about your teams. We got you at LAFBnetwork.com. So I had a great Thanksgiving, guys. I loved it. It was a lot of fun. We went over to my wife's family's, or my wife's sister's house, not too far from us. Had 2 turkeys. My brother-in-law smoked one. Had never had smoked turkey. Fantastic. So good. I was very impressed with how good it was. And then we had the more conventional oven-cooked turkey, which was great too. Had the stuffing, this like 8 cheese mac and cheese, fantastic. Green bean casserole, which is like a go-to for me. It's important. I'm curious. I'll put a poll up after this, but what's like a must-have side dish for your Thanksgivings? A must-have side. Obviously turkey. I'm not putting that in there. But a side dish. For me, green bean casserole is a must. So mashed potatoes are probably a must. I grew up on sweet potatoes and yams, whatever you want to call them. I grew up on that. Since I've moved here to California, all my Thanksgivings now have been spent with my wife's family. Never have sweet potatoes. It's just not their thing. What they do have that is a game changer that threw me off the first time I went over there. They are Mexican. If you did not know that, my wife is Mexican. They have their mom's, my wife's mom's homemade chili, salsa, that they put on, not beforehand, you put it on the side, but you put it on your turkey, your mashed potatoes, whatever you want, and it is so good. Salsa rojo, it's a red salsa, but it's fantastic. One of my absolute favorites, and it's a important staple for now, my Thanksgivings moving forward. So it was super pumped about that. It was very good. But yeah, I had a great, relaxing time. Watched some football. Just hang out with family and friends. We were safe, obviously. Hope all of you were too. So happy belated Thanksgiving. Hope it was fantastic. And now we are officially in full holiday swing season, which is my favorite time of year. Best time of the year. I've been watching Christmas movies since November 1st. So I think I speak for myself when I say this is my absolute favorite time of the year. Mia's first Thanksgiving. Mia's first Christmas. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait. So hopefully when you're with friends and family, you were drinking Golden Road beer. I hate this bar, but I don't want to hold the mic, so got to use it. So hopefully you got yourself some Golden Road. We got the Who's House Blonde Ale right here. Delicious. I don't have a co-host. It's weird. There's an awkward pause, but got to have a swig of it. Fantastic. You can actually get that on LAFBnetwork.com. Head to the LAFB locker room. You'll see the Bolt Up. You'll see the Who's House. We got a, what else do we have on there? The Dog IPA, the Lazy Dog IPA, and the Mango Cart. So those 4 on there. You can buy them right there. How easy is that? If you're already watching the show, you might be on LFB Network right now. You can head to the LFB locker room, pick yourself up some delicious Golden Road beer. So head there. Tell them the LFB Network sent you. Yeah, guys, got a good show for you today. I just want to quickly touch on each of these games. We do only have 3 games. If you did not hear, unfortunately, the USC game versus Colorado was canceled. A USC player tested positive at the beginning of the week. And then on Wednesday, everything looked to be back on track. And then a few more cases sprouted up on Thursday, putting USC under that scholarship number or limit, whatever you want to call it. And so that game, unfortunately, has been canceled. I really liked USC chance in this game. It was a battle of two undefeateds. I just thought USC was the better team. I don't need to go into a breakdown or preview since they're not playing. But I just really liked USC. I know Frosty did too, to move to 4-0. So definitely unfortunate that doesn't happen. And unfortunately, let me first say this. First and foremost, let's make sure these kids, coaches, personnel, whoever has contracted the virus is healthy, is safe. That is absolutely the most important thing. So hopefully they recover fine, whether they're symptomatic or not. That's first and foremost. So whatever you think about this virus or about these protocols or about how our lives have changed because of it on the daily, it's still, you want people to be healthy, right? I mean, that's absolutely the most important thing. You want people to get over it and do what they need to do to get back to, just living a normal everyday life. So that's first and foremost. On a football scale, since this is the LA Football Podcast, it's unfortunate because I think it really will end SC's chances at making the playoff, which were very slim anyway, with only 7 games, razor thin. They needed a lot of help. They had to run the table. They needed, as the season progressed, to look better and better, which they did against Utah. The offense started clicking better. The defense really clamped down. And they need to just kind of get those style points for the playoff. Not necessarily for the program because this is a weird year, but if they wanted a chance to make the playoff, they had to start stacking some style points. But they lose another game. It's not like the other conferences where they postpone and maybe reschedule, canceled. So maybe if something were to happen, they can squeeze another game. I don't know how they would do that because I think their season's going to run all the way to the very end when the playoff committee decides. I don't know how that would happen. I haven't really looked into it hard. But if it doesn't, which I don't think it can, 6 games, I feel like there's no way they'll get in unless we start seeing all these other SEC schools and Big Ten schools. Their games get canceled too, and they end up only having 8 or 9 games total instead of the 10, 11, 12. So if you have an SC with 6-0 and you have we'll say Florida or Alabama or these other schools, maybe they only SC 6-0 and they're 7-1, so 2 more games, then maybe they have a shot. But that a lot would have to happen for that to happen. So unfortunate, but yeah, prayers for those kids. They're all getting better. So we don't need to talk about that anymore. But we got UCLA playing Arizona. They had a big week against Oregon. They played well. Unfortunately, came up short. Chase Griffin's first collegiate start. And it's looking like he'll go again this week. So we'll get into that game a little bit. Rams and Niners. It's Niners week, baby. Niners week. Always love Niners week. And there's a lot I want to talk about that's going on Twitter. Stay tuned for that. And the Chargers and Bills. This is going to be a super fun matchup. Mainly, I think, just the Justin Herbert, Josh Allen. I don't comp them. I've seen some people comp them. I think just because they have big arms and they're both over 6'5" and can run. People like to comp them. I think they have different skill sets. Justin Herbert's way more accurate. Yada, yada. But we'll get into that game too. So I think it's going to be a super fun matchup. So let's get right into it. The show, as always, brought to you by betonline.ag. They have tons of prop bets. Basketball season's coming back. The NBA draft just happened. It's crazy. Basketball starts in like a month. I feel like it just ended. We're going to hit the NBA season starting in December, so that's crazy. I'm going to start placing bets on that. Obviously, football, college, and NFL full swing, so make sure to head those. I love parlaying. I got to talk to you guys. Last episode, if you listened, I said I'm going to bet on the 4 LA football teams. I wasn't going to bet them all to win. I liked the Rams, Chargers, and Trojans to all win, and the Bruins, this was before DTR wasn't even playing when I placed my bet, but the Bruins were a 13.5 dog. So I was like, you know what? I think me and Frosty both thought they could play spoiler, could win, but at worst, they were not going to lose by 13.5 points or 13 points. I thought they could at least keep it within one score. So I took that bet. Took the Rams to win straight up over the Buccaneers. I took the Trojans to win straight up over the Utah Utes. And then the Chargers were 9.5 point favorites. And I took the 9.5 points. Guys, killed me because the Bruins lost by 3 in that game they were in. That hit. Obviously, the Rams won. Obviously, the Trojans won. And then the Chargers did not cover. They won, but they let the Jets come back in the game. They did that intentional safety, but they were already only winning by like a touchdown at that point anyway. So my bet that would have turned in, I'll just say very high returns for what I put into it, did not hit because the Chargers did not cover. But at least they won. A win's a win. So head to betonline.ag today. If you have not signed up yet, they have great sign-up bonuses that you're going to just stack on more money to whatever you deposit. So head there today, betonline.ag, and place some bets on some LA football, which I'm going to help you out right now with what you should do. All right, Rams fans, let's start with this Rams-Niners game. Hopefully, if you're listening to the show, go ahead and grab yourself one of these Golden Roads and you can drink along while we chat. So we're, like I said, it's going to be a quick, brief show. I'd rather, talk to you guys. So hopefully if you're listening or watching this on YouTube, comment below. I'd love to just hear your thoughts on this game. But I want to start with this. On Twitter this week, it's been fun. It's what I love about Twitter. It's basically, I was talking to someone the other day about, comparing Instagram and Twitter. To me, Instagram is like a museum, right? You have high-profile people post pictures. That's like your Van Goghs, your Monets, your art, right? So you have high-profile people with a lot of followers posting a picture, whatever it may be, or posting an ad or whatever. And then all these people come and look at it, and maybe they say a comment. They're coming just to look at your photo. But that's kind of the extent of it, right? Like if you're not a high-profile person, it's very hard to build up an Instagram. I'm not saying it's impossible. Obviously, people have done it. But that's just more how I see it, especially in the sports world, is you have all the athletes, and as fans will go to their pictures and like maybe we'll leave a comment, but like you never get a response back or anything. It's just, it's a museum. You're walking by, you're seeing it. Twitter is like a sports bar. Anything goes. Everyone's talking trash. Athletes get involved sometimes. They're commenting back. It's a place to just voice your thoughts, what you see. You immediately tweet out when you're watching the game. Well, I love Twitter. It's like a sports bar. This week, I'm not even going to say his Twitter handle because I don't think he needs any more impressions. I don't know if this was the purpose of what he did to just get clicks, or if he was that just off his rocker. So Sports Illustrated, as many of you know, has new ownership now. I believe the company's called Maven. They bought Sports Illustrated recently. And so they've done an overhaul, fired a lot of old employees that have worked there, and they've kind of taken on this almost like fan-sided SB Nation. I'm not talking trash on those companies, but they've taken on this, we're going to bring in either free help or really cheap new journalists that are going to save us money. We're not paying a guy that's been around for 20 years and now he's making, 6 figures. We're going to bring in this guy out of college that we can pay $25,000 or for free. That's kind of the mantra they've done. Not for everywhere. We actually have really good SI guys for the Rams and Chargers, thankfully. Fernando Ramirez, who was on the show just last week. He was with NBC San Diego forever. Now he's the Chargers writer for SI. And Eric Williams, who was with ESPN forever covering the Chargers, is now at Sports Illustrated covering the Rams. So our LA beat has done a really good job. So I want to make that clear, especially because Eric's coming on the show, I believe, next week. When I was just on the show, love them both. They're great guys, good friends. So I don't want to say that as a company-wide. But as a whole, if you've noticed, they've done that a lot. But they keep them separate, right? So they same thing. They've kind of done the same route as SB Nation and Fansided, where each team is now like their own blog. So the Niners, I'm going to call it a blog because this is what I'm getting to. They have a guy, they did a show like I'm doing now, but with like 5 of them talking about this Rams-Niners game. I didn't watch the whole show. I saw a clip. And one of the guys talked about how, this Rams defense is essentially, I'm paraphrasing, essentially a fraud. They only have 3 players, and he listed Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, and Michael Brockers. And then he said something like Taylor Rapp, who's not playing because he's on IR. But basically said he thinks the Niners can kind of run all over this defense because they're not good. Because they only have three names. He can't name anyone else. I thought it was funny, and he got ripped apart, obviously, on Twitter, and there's all the fun back and forth, and I'm like, it's Niners week, baby. People are just getting into it. Fans are getting into it. I love that. But you can't call yourself a journalist, which Sports Illustrated used to be, right? Like I've said many times on this show, I don't really consider myself a journalist. I work my ass off. I cover all the LA football teams. I've been credentialed by all the teams. Obviously, this year's a little different because of COVID, but I've had good access. I try to be very subjective in my points. I'm not just a fan. I've been very honest. I'm a Broncos fan, which I think helps because I can talk about these 4 LA teams from a subjective lens and not just be, all rainbows and bubblegum. But I say I'm not a journalist. I'm not investigating stuff. I'm not reporting things. I'm giving an opinion. I'm analyzing. I do my research. I watch a lot of football, so hopefully it values you. But there's a lot of fan blogs They're just guys sitting that don't really know a lot, at least about other teams. They do about their team. But they just sit and spew opinion, but call themselves journalism. Like Sports Illustrated is supposed to be journalism. Clearly, this guy does not know what he's talking about, considering he said that, and the Rams are the number 1 ranked defense. The number 1 ranked total defense in the entire NFL. What Brandon Staley has done to that unit is unreal. Like, to me, I'm just going to say, it's offensive how little credit they're getting. They're obviously in LA, people know, and they get somewhat respect nationally. But even after that Buccaneers win, right? All the national media talk was Brady losing the game. The Buccaneers losing the game. Bruce Arians' bad play calling. Yada, yada, yada down the line. Very rarely, I'm trying to think, I'm sure some did, but rarely did you hear people say, wow, this Rams team is for real. Wow, this Rams defense is for real. Legit. Aaron Donald wasn't even on the stat sheet. And they shut down that Buccaneers offense. Outside of the opening 2 drives, which is what they do. That's what the Rams defense is. We know when games open up, they're kind of like getting their feet wet, seeing what the offense is going to do. They usually kind of let them march down the field. And then 2, 3, 4, 5 drives in, for sure by the second half, put the clamps down. Absolutely dominate. So it was just, funny to me to see this Niners journalist. Again, if a fan said it, I don't really care. Fans said it, it's like, it's fun. It's fans talk. Fans talk trash. Like, usually a lot of fans, I mean this respectfully, but they don't know a lot about other teams than their own. So yeah, it is what it is. But if he's on Sports Illustrated payroll and he can only name 3 players on the Rams defense, and that's why he thinks they're not good, even though clearly they're the number 1 ranked defense in the entire NFL, then Sports Illustrated needs to be held accountable a little bit. But nowadays, in this clickbait world we live in, or I don't want to say even clickbait, but in a world where views drive content, not content driving views, which is the way it should be. But their video, they probably got the most views they've ever gotten since they've been doing their show, I'm sure. Because not only do they have their fan base watching it, but now you had a mob of Ram fans retweeting, talking about it. It starts a big debate, which is great, which is all fun. But they probably are like, man, this was a success because look at how much we drove this content and got people to interact with it. So I'm sure Sports Illustrated is upset by it. I just am like, wow, this is a Sports Illustrated. Again, it's not SB Nation, not fan-sided, not some new blog that we don't know. One of the most respected sports journalist outlet. I mean, I think in terms of history, Sports Illustrated might even be more respected than ESPN. I mean, I'm trying to think of who came first. I know ESPN, obviously, in broadcasting is way higher, but in terms of just like magazine and print, Sports Illustrated is like the standard with how they started. Obviously, they've taken a big turn and changed things up, and that was just the proof of it. So, guys, I like the Rams in this game. I do. I think they're especially with how they got beat pretty badly the first time they played them, 24-16, I believe was the final score. I just think they're going to come out fired up. This offense is playing a lot better. The defense, I don't even need to get into it, but the defense is fantastic. The defense is so good. Terrell Lewis he's doubtful, so that's a bummer. But he plays limited snaps anyway, so they're getting Obo back potentially soon here too. But other than that, they're pretty unscathed on the defensive side of the ball. Well, I should obviously mention they did have a big loss at the linebacker position. Micah Kaiser was put on IR, so that actually is a big loss. That he just wasn't on the injury report because he was put on the IR before even the week of practice started, so right after that game. Which is another thing wasn't really talked about. Like he went out, hobbled off the field in that Tampa Bay game, and then he was like, "Oh, hopefully he's okay," and they never talked about it again. So I don't know, weird respect, I guess, for this Rams defense. But that being said, I still like him. I think the way Staley calls games is that it puts the players in the best position to succeed. And even though they have a few guys down, it's that next man up mantra. I know every team has it, but the way he schemes things, it utilizes whatever player's in that position at that time. So it's not like you're saying, okay, Aaron Donald's really good at this, so if he's out, you need to do what Aaron Donald does. I know it's not going to be at the same level, but do what he does. No, he says, okay, Aaron Donald's out. Let's scheme a little differently to use your skills the best that you can do, right? So it's not just you're filling in for someone. It's like, okay, well, now we're going to change things up because you're playing instead of that player. So I think he's done a really good job of that. So it's obviously a loss not having Micah Kaiser, not having Terrell Lewis. Obviously, Taylor Rapp's already been on the IR, missed a game. But he does things schematically that benefit those who are in. That's why we've seen Darius Williams just have a breakout year, become a household name. Guy's been fantastic. I think he's the number two graded PFF player in the Rams defense behind Aaron Donald. So that's saying something, even above Jalen Ramsey. So, yeah, and the Niners have their own tons of guys out. Let me look at the list here. I know they're getting some guys back. Deebo Samuel should be good to go. Javon Kinlaw is questionable. They have a bunch of guys still on the COVID list. So, yeah, they have their own issues with injuries and stuff. I just like the Rams in this game. I think they have the better quarterback. They have the better running backs. Kyle Shanahan does great at scheming for his running backs, but the Rams have the better running backs. Offensive line is a toss-up. Receivers, I like the Rams better. Niners have a lot of talent, but again, those guys, Brandon Ayuk's coming off that COVID list. Is he going to play for sure? Like I said, Deebo Samuels should be back, but he's banged up. They just have not consistency there right now. Rams, we know we have, in my opinion, two of the best duo and Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp in the entire NFL. So I think they'll be okay there. And then on defense, this Niners unit that was such a dominant force last year, just with how many injuries they had. Obviously, Nick Bosa's out and all this stuff. I just think this Rams unit is much better right now. And obviously, they're playing like they're first in the NFL. So I like the Rams in this game, guys. I'm going to go... I'm telling you, I think they have a big bounce back game. I think they put up 31 points. I've used these last two games. If you've listened to the LA Football Podcast, I've gone low scoring, and I've been pretty close. I had the Seahawks game very low scoring. I had the Buccaneers game 24-17. I think the final was 27-24. I'm drawing a blank now what the actual final was. Let me see here. So yeah, 27-24. There you go. So I'm going low, but I think the Rams put up 31 in this game. I think they hit the 30s. I think they rushed the ball over 30 times. I think Jared Goff doesn't make any costly mistakes. He had 2 bad picks last week, but luckily it didn't cost him. They ended up winning. And I think Goff's been playing overall much better too. That's another, we can talk even more about that, but I just think he's playing a lot better. But I think this game, no costly mistakes. Plays a good clean game, over 30 carries, and they get over 30 points. So I'm going to go with 31. Let's go 31-17 for this game. I just don't think that. I don't think the Niners offense, obviously they don't have their big tight end. He's out, so on the eye, done for the season most likely, unless they make a late playoff push, which I don't think is happening. But greater things have happened. So I just like the Rams in this game. 31-17. Let's hear it, Rams fans. What you think about that? Tweet at me, Ryan Dyrud, LAFB. You can email me, podcast at LAFB Network, but I'm curious how you think this game's going to go. Love to talk to you all game. Hit me up on Twitter. We joined a new chat called Thready. A Rams fan, his name's Goffman on Instagram, shout out to you. He made this app, and I think it's super cool. The design of it is awesome. It has very interactive, a bunch of different memes you can play with. It's just a really cool app to use for chatting, and you can also have links within the tabs. So we have our own LAFB Network chat, and we have all of our podcasts up there, our articles up there, so you can go to the Rams page, check out all of our stuff. So it's really cool, really intuitive, really fun to use, and then you're talking with the Rams fans. So if you want, join that. It's Thready, Thready on the App Store. And just join the public chat, LAFB Network. There's only 3 public chats, so it should be easy to find. I think it's Rams, Chargers, and LAFB Network. So join ours, and then we have a separate Rams chat in that. So if you want to join that, we can talk during the game as well. So, all right, Chargers fans, let's get into this Chargers-Bills game. 10 a.m. kickoff. I'm extremely excited for this game. I think this is a really good Bills team. Obviously, we saw them beat the Rams earlier in this year. They've beaten the Seahawks. They've beaten a lot of good teams. I think Josh Allen's playing a lot better. I've never been a big Josh Allen guy. I didn't love him coming out of college. He was a guy similar, in my opinion, to Jordan Love. Not in their skill set necessarily, so don't hear me wrong on that. But I know there's a lot of Chargers fans who are really big on Jordan Love. But he was a guy that had a really productive junior year and then a not at all productive senior year. Josh Allen talking about. So I know he had intangibles, and we're seeing that now. He's got great arm talent, big-bodied guy, mobile, can run the football when needed. But I'm big on production. I want to see production. Obviously, there's intangibles that quarterbacks and players of all sorts need that you can hopefully get the most out of at the NFL level. But for me, I want to see production. If you're a starting quarterback, especially playing at a smaller school like Wyoming, going up against lesser competition, and you're only throwing for 1,900 yards your senior year, to me, that was a red flag. And he struggled mightily his first 2 seasons, and here we are in year 3, and he looks a lot better. Still has some of the bad things that he's done, his bad tendencies that he has, but overall he's playing really well. I know a lot of people have him in the MVP race. I don't know if I'd go that far. He had like 3 or 4 weeks there where he went back to kind of his old ways. Really wasn't producing like he has in some weeks, but there's other weeks where he looks like the best quarterback in the NFL for that specific week. So I love this matchup because of him and Justin Herbert. Similar in a way that they're the same size, big body, they can run the football when needed. Huge arms. They're really good with the deep ball. Another thing Josh Allen struggled with a lot, but this year he's gotten a lot better. But Justin Herbert's been lights out with his deep ball this year. But so that's obviously one side of this game, which I think is going to be a lot of fun to really watch. So I'm curious, Chargers fans, what you think about this game. There's a chance Austin Eckler can play Coach Lindstedt, which would be a huge, huge boost for them if they're able to get him back. I know he's came off the IR, obviously. I don't know even if he does play, if they would really push him that much. But Kalen Ballage is also banged up, so his status is questionable. He was limited all week, so that leaves them with Joshua Kelly. So I think if Eckler's back, just my opinion, he will get a decent workload. If he's ready to go, he's ready to go. I don't think they're going to ease him in or anything like that. So that'll be something definitely to monitor. After Eckler, though, even more importantly, though, this Chargers team has some big names out on the defensive side of the ball. A defensive unit that's already obviously had their struggles, well documented. Frosty and I have talked about it a lot, but you have Casey Hayward, Melvin Ingram, and Uchenna Nwosu all out for this game. So Hayward, I love Casey Hayward. I think he's one of the underrated corners in this game, but he's struggled this year. I mean, he's had not his best games this season. Struggled even against the Jets last week. Gave up some big plays that let the Jets come back in that game and really make Chargers fans really nervous, which is, normal for Chargers fans. But against the Jets, when the offense was firing all cylinders, defense was playing well too. All of a sudden the Jets came back in, and a lot of that, unfortunately, was due to some of Casey Hayward's play there later in the game. So that's not to say I want to be injured, but I think they'll be able to insert a guy, Tavon Campbell, who played some last week, will step in, and we'll see how he does. Obviously it's big shoes to fill, but just with how Hayward struggled, I don't know if it'll be a huge drop-off. And again, that's not to say anything about Casey Hayward, because I still think he's one of the better corners in the game. He's just had his struggles this year, so we'll see how Campbell does. And he may end up having a solid game. What helps them, and we're never rooting for injuries, but John Brown on the other side of the ball for the Bills is out, so that's their big deep threat, and he will not be there. So obviously you have Stephon Diggs, who is one of the best receivers in the entire game. And Chris Harris, no Casey Hayward, so who's going to cover Stephon Diggs? Whether it's a safety and a corner, double them all night. I don't know what they're going to do all morning. So that's going to be a huge matchup to watch, is who is going to be on Stephon Diggs, because obviously it probably would have been Casey Hayward. I don't know if they want Tevin Campbell on him. That might be asking him a lot, so I would assume it would be Mike Davis, especially with, like I said, John Brown being out. But we'll see. That's going to be a tough matchup, and I think the way you alleviate that or help that matchup is to get after Josh Allen, get after the quarterback. Well, guess what? Melvin Ingram and Uchenna Nwosu are both out in this game, like I said. So this is a huge, huge 3 guys, which story of the Chargers' life. Derwin James, Chris Harris Jr., big signing. He's been out for a long time. Should be back soon, though, hopefully. But who's going to apply pressure? Obviously, Joey Bosa is playing. But who's going to be, Isaac Rochelle, I guess, is going to be on the other side now. You slide Damon Square, have him in there. Jerry Tillery, who obviously plays tackle, but they'll get him hopefully more reps. Those are big losses. Melvin Ingram, Uchenna Nwosu. Uchenna Nwosu is Melvin Ingram's backups. The fact they're both out. Who's going to apply pressure? Because now with Casey Hayward out, you need to get after Josh Allen, so he doesn't all day for Stephon Diggs to get open. So those are some tough losses. They're going to be tough to get over. I don't love the Chargers in this game. I love that they can play spoiler. I think they can surprise people for sure. But I don't just love the matchup, especially with these injuries, these new injuries. I think the offense will play well, which they have been all year. Love Justin Herbert. I think he's going to fight, to the end of the game. But I just don't know if they'll be able to get enough pressure on Josh Allen. And they just have, with Stephon Diggs and the little help they have in the secondary right now, I think it's just going to be a really tough sledding against this Bills offense, who's been really electric this year. They've put up a lot of points and done really well. So it's going to be a tough game. Overall, I'll say, score prediction for this one. I rarely pick against the Chargers. I know that sounds bad because they've only won 3 games. I like them in most games, and they're very competitive. I think they're going to be competitive again, so I don't think it's going to be a blow-up by any means. I think the Chargers can do things to, like I said, play spoiler, but if I just have to put a prediction down, I think I got to go with the Bills putting up 28 points and the Chargers only getting to 24. So I think it's another close one-possession, one-score game, but we'll go 28-24 Bills. But I hope, fingers crossed, the Chargers can play spoiler. Let's look. I haven't looked what the spread is on betonline.ag on this game. Because if we're going to bet on this game, like I said, Rams game already, I have them as a win. I like them against the Niners, and they win fairly big, too. I think I said, 31-17 was my score. So if you're betting, take that. Just take the money line. You don't got to mess with the spreads. Rams are winning that game. Okay, let's see this Chargers game here. It's a 4-point spread. So the Chargers are +4. So my prediction right there would be a push, 28-24. So depending how you want to, whatever that means to you, I'm not a huge gambler. But if you are, you probably are safer taking the Bills winning by more than 4. Because that would mean your Chargers would need to either win or only lose by 3. Which is very doable, but I think you're probably safer if you're really been to betting to probably take the Bills -4. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I hope I don't lose your money, but I hope I'm wrong. Obviously, we want the Chargers to win and play spoiler like I think they can, but it's just a tough matchup with this Bills team. But I'm excited to watch the Justin Herbert, Josh Allen showdown. I hope they haven't really built it up, I feel like, all week, which I think they should. This is a great marquee quarterback matchup. I'm getting real tired, if I'm being honest, of always, this is nothing against Brady, Breeze, Phillip Rivers, all these guys, Ben Roethlisberger, but those are always the marquee QB matchups, right, every week. It's like, Breeze versus Brady, Breeze versus Roethlisberger, not that they've played yet, but let's look at these new guys, like Herbert and Josh Allen. That's going to be a fun matchup, and it might be just because the Chargers are a 3-win team, but we're seeing with what Justin Herbert has done this year, this needs to be built up as a future, potential AFC clashing game. Like, we could see these teams in playoffs for years to come if the Chargers do things right in this offseason and get this team back on track, because we know the Bills are going to be around for a while now. I mean, they're a good team. Made the playoffs last year. They're on track to make the playoffs this year. But now the Chargers have their quarterback, and this could be an AFC clash we see a lot. So I think that this needs to be built up, and it's going to be a fun one. So Chargers fans, as I mentioned, if you listen to the Rams segment, sorry, you're going to hear it again. We're on a new chat app called Thready. Local LA guy made this app. It's awesome. It's super intuitive. It's really cool design. THREADY. Download the app on the App Store. Join the public LAFB network chat. There's only 3 chats, so pretty easy to find. LAFB network. Hop on there. Let's talk during the game. If not, I'm always on Twitter watching these games, so chat at me, Ryan Dyrud. LAFB, or the main account is LAFB Network. So, unfortunately, I have it predicted as the Bills winning 28-24, but I hope I'm wrong. All right, Bruins fans, let's talk lastly about this UCLA-Arizona matchup. I'm intrigued by this. I think coming into the year, These were considered two of the bottom teams, them and Colorado surprisingly is, undefeated so far. But I think everyone kind of slated as the Arizona, Colorado, UCLA was going to be at the bottom of the Pac-12 South. I've liked how UCLA have played so far. I know they're 1-2, but even against Colorado, you take out that first half, they played a lot better than the second half. They bounced back, they battled, they rallied around their quarterback. They got the win the next week against Cal. They dominated, basically after the first two possessions, dominated the entire game. And then last week against Oregon, again, a couple costly turnovers. Outside of that, they played an 11th ranked Oregon team very well and had a chance to win at the end of the game. Chase Griffin, first start ever at the college level, and he looked pretty good. Is there a true QB competition now between him and DTR? I don't know. It's looking like Chase Griffin is going to play again on Saturday. Whether that's just more precautionary, whether that's DTR has been cleared to play yet. I know he didn't actually have COVID. It was all contact tracing. It's hard to say. So I don't really know. They've kept a lot of stuff close to the vest with all that stuff. But from what I've heard, Chase Griffin should get the start again. So we'll see now in his second game against Arizona. If he lights it up and UCLA wins this game, we may have a QB controversy. I don't know if Coach Chip Kelly will say that. But as fans, if you see Griffin go out and play a clean game, because, he had turnovers last week too. So, same thing from the QB position there. But he showed some good things in his first ever start against a ranked opponent. Showed some good things. So, I still think DTR can be a very good quarterback, especially in this conference and for this team. And it sucks to see him not be able to play for that reason. Not actually being injured, not even having COVID, just being someone nearby. But that's sometimes how the game works. And, Chase Griffin came in and played well and gave his team an opportunity to win that game. So if he goes to Arizona, or if it's at the Rose Bowl, but if he plays Arizona and balls out, things will be interesting for their next game. And this is such a short season. They're already halfway through it after this week, over halfway. So it'll be interesting to see what Chip wants to do. I would assume DTR would be back for next year as well. So now it's looking forward. Like, okay, do you roll a Chase Griffin next year? Or are you building DTR for next year? Like, a lot of intangibles to see, but hey, we got to get through, and they got to win games. UCLA is actually surprisingly, I think they're the better football team, but they are a 10.5-point favorite on betonline.ag. But I like UCLA in this game. I think Demetric Felton goes off again. The guy has played so well this year so far. Another huge game against Oregon last week. As long as they get him 25-plus touches, they're going to have a good opportunity to compete and win these games. And I think they're the better team in this one. Arizona's showed some good stuff. They showed some good things against USC, where a lot of people were surprised because they kept that game on the wire, only lost by 4 points, and then they got blown out last week. So I think that's more the real Arizona team was what we saw last week. And I think UCLA, the way that they've bounced back from some of those bad turnovers, if they can eliminate those turnovers, they could be undefeated right now. They could be a 3-0 football team right now if they cancel out those turnovers. So hopefully they do it against Arizona. They play a clean football game. Demetric Felton gets over 25 touches, and Chase Griffin, if he does start, plays a well-balanced, clean game. And I think we'll see UCLA come out victors because the defense has played probably the best they've played this year in Chip Kelly's tenure. The defense has played very, very well. I think they're number one in efficiency or tackling in the entire Pac-12, so they've played very impressively. And they go up against a much lesser offense this week in Arizona than they did last week against Oregon. So I like UCLA in this game. 10.5 points. I don't know if I love that. I don't know if they win by more than 11. But I like UCLA winning this game and getting back to 500, where they can then, move forward for the rest of the year, and then we'll see what happens at the quarterback position. But, yeah, I like the Bruins in this one. But, yeah, so think that will do it for this quick edition of the LA Football Podcast on the Believe Network, on LAFBnetwork.com. Thank you all for tuning in. I know it was a quick one, easy, short. Frosty Rucker, my man, will be back next week. We got a big show lined up with a bunch of guests on Monday, so looking forward to that. But hope you guys enjoy the games this weekend. Like I said, hit me up on Thready, hit me up on Twitter. Let's see LA football go 3-0 this week. Chargers got a tough one, but I think they could play spoiler if they do everything right. Love the Rams against Niners. think they ball out and dominate, and I like UCLA against Arizona. So stay healthy, stay safe, everyone. Find me on Twitter at Ryan Dyrud, LAFB. The main account is LAFB Network. Subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts. We are everywhere you listen, and we have video format on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. All of those can be found at LAFB Network. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you guys all next week.